speaks to what it looks like when you come off of a week and a half, 2 weeks nonstop, and it's like it's a pause, I should say. I just found out yesterday I'm going to be live streaming the county debate for all of our candidates, and that starts Monday night, which is going to be a really cool thing. And it's good, but it's like constant motion,
Nice problems to have, for sure.
I hope. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And I had a really cool day yesterday that my fire department does a charity golf tournament, or has one that benefits us for 9/11. So the last 3 years I've led our 9/11 ceremony, and that was it's always really cool, just to, go back in that moment and remind people of, we still got a lot of work to do and things like that, but it was a really cool event.
Excellent. We're
Pretty
on
cool.
Facebook, and I saw the YouTube. I think we're on YouTube, so hey, everybody on Facebook and YouTube. So so folks, and we're just went on LinkedIn. So hello everyone on LinkedIn. Hey Luke, Greg, on Facebook. I see both of you guys. Welcome. We have a viewer guest, and I am, of course, let's see.
Got it.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up the phone real quick.
I hear something there.
The knobs being turned behind the Wizard of Oz curtain.
Right? Don't look behind the curtain. The true wizard's at it again. We just show up and do our thing, but the real star of the show is, you don't see him on the screen right now, scrambling around.
I've got headphones plugged in.
Oh, I hear him.
For the battle. Hey, Marty. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I've had better days.
Oh, I can relate. I have for the last couple of weeks had a couple little bugs in here that I'm actually usually I'm chroma keying myself, and this is my alternate shot, and it's always so it really kicks in the OCD because I want to keep looking this way where all the monitors are, so I can kind of keep up with what's going on. But it's like this is the shot. So, yeah, but you know what you do, you roll with it. I mean, that's the whole thing about live streaming. Is you find a way to make it work no matter what.
Guys, hang on a second. I got to get Lee's video here real quick. He has
my video is not. It's not accepting my video. It's not finding a camera. It's telling me no device found.
That's the problem that you had on the other thing. Did you close the browser for the neural net connection?
I did. I did indeed.
Okay. Can you?
I would have him reboot.
He just did reboot a little bit ago.
Yeah.
He did.
He's got some kind of problem with his.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on here. No camera. Yeah, it keeps saying no camera found. That's just odd.
Now, you have Wirecast open, though, still, don't you?
I closed it.
Before you open Skype?
Pardon me?
Before you open Skype?
After, so I should do that.
I would, let's hang up with Skype. You have this name. Call it right back.
Okay, we'll do.
And then let's see if that fixes it.
Got it.
Just for hey, Lindsay and Jim Wild, welcome on Facebook. Welcome everybody watching. Just give you, we're trying to get our guest in. So that's what you're hearing here on the Skype thing. And Steven's working furiously behind the scenes to try to.
He's having major camera issues. Where nothing is being seen. His camera's not being seen in anything.
So that's what we're doing. So you're seeing the live behind the scenes of, and this is why we start early. We start this setup at least 30 minutes before, and for this very reason. And we talked about this in other shows. I know, Jeff, we talked about this where.
Yeah, I thought this was a setup for next week's show.
That's when you said about. I looked at it. I thought that was like an intro to this segment, and I'm looking at. I'm going, oh no, that's for a different show that we've actually Jeff, that moves down to another week.
Okay.
So you're ahead of the curve. That's fine. That's good. Multi-box. That's in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So Jeff's on ahead of the schedule here. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
and this we talked about this I think last week or the week before, preparing the the importance of preparation, and mainly this is a good example of with us, if we're recurring hosts, lots of times you can get the workflow down and you can be pretty solid only because you do it every week. But when you bring guests in, not that they're doing anything wrong, but you haven't tested the workflow and you try to get them, and that's what we're trying to do now with our guests, and that's what you're hearing in the background.
Yeah, there's no
So
doubt about it.
all right. Do we have video now?
It's still telling me no device found, guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know what the hey is going on here.
Well, if the audience is okay with it, we can have you try to reboot real quick and see if that. Then just
Yeah.
open Skype up and see if that gets you video. If
Yeah,
not,
do it.
we can roll.
This is like our live
That's right.
troubleshooting show.
Yeah, it's
You're-
exactly right.
you're seeing
Okay,
it right
I'll
here.
just
Yeah,
I'll
this
go
is-
back
this is-
and try this over.
Gather around the fire, folks.
All right.
This is what it looks like.
All right, so he's gonna reboot. I'm gonna see if I can turn off those dang ring notifications.
Yeah.
Let's turn that off.
And again, just while we're waiting, this is a great example right here, and I'm glad. I actually kind of glad this is happening. Because
not.
I was making the point. Well, I know you're not. I'm gonna make the best. I'm gonna try to make it the best out of this here. But I mean, it gives us, and Steven's working in the background, so we're gonna let Steven do his thing. He's running the show, and he's doing like 18 different things at once. But we talked about this, Jeff. Lots of times it's not necessarily the host. Like the three of us host on a regular basis. It maybe took a couple weeks for us to get our flow down, our workflow, work through any kind of technical issues. But once we get that worked out, we do the same setup every week. And we talked about that, where it's important to have that same workflow every week to have a smooth production. And even though we start 30 minutes in advance, lots of times, like in the case of our guest, he has a nice setup. And sometimes if you haven't worked through the workflow yet, sometimes you have these issues that come up, and that's what you're seeing here. Originally, we were going to have him come through the same system that we use to get on the show with Steven. But again, the importance of backup. Steven's actually working with our guests to try to get him on via Skype, and that's just a
Right.
backup that he has.
Yeah.
But again, this is why we start 30 minutes in advance, right? I mean, this is the importance of it, and you're seeing it right here.
I mean, this is the world of live video and live TV and everything in between. And Lee's got a great system. He is a broadcast veteran. He knows how to do this. But every now and then, technology updates, patches, whatever may be running, from week to week, you never know what may change something. And not seeing your devices listed when you need them is a big deal, because no matter what you do, it takes a while to figure out what's going on. And that's what we're looking at in real time here. But it's happened to me. It's in the last 2 weeks. That's one of the reasons why I have this different shot now, because I'm having an issue with one of my cameras in the other direction. But it's the world we live in. And you're right. The more you do it, the more practice removes a lot of that, and helps with the kind of the mental, muscle memory. But you never get away from it completely, which is why you do what we do. We get in here early, we start trying it. And in a case like this, which is a little bit more, I would call catastrophic, because it's really a showstopper in certain ways, you just have to work through it. And the great thing about the world of live is that it doesn't matter. People like what they watch, and they'll respond to it.
Hey Jeff, real quick, I think your compressor's a little aggressive because it's kind of cutting you off just a little bit on it.
It may be because I was working on something.
I figured you were probably playing with it. It's just a little bit
is that any better?
Go ahead.
Check 1, 2, 3. Check. Is the limiter kicking in? Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It could be the gate even on it. It might be just cutting it.
I'll just wind it back from over here and see what we got here.
Okay. It could be just because I know you keep the mic out of shot. It might be a little bit too far away for what you have the gate set to.
Yeah, and it could be it. I don't know, is that any better.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, it's you turn down. There's a button on it that says Morgan Freeman, and James Earl Jones. If you turn both down at the same time, things sound great. So
That's good.
So
I love that.
while we're waiting for Lee to reboot here and get going here, we want to have everybody. We want to do it with video. So if we can get him on video, great. If not, we'll continue the show with him in audio form. So, but he's not even getting in Wirecast. He's not even getting video. So something's going on with his
That's odd.
camera. So hopefully his camera didn't just die on him. That would not.
Now,
be fun.
now in Skype, is he still trying to use virtual camera?
No, he's just trying to get a camera into it, and it's not seeing any camera.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
Wow.
not ideal.
That's
So
weird. Yeah.
so hopefully he'll get it. Hopefully he'll get it situated. If not, we'll just do audio only. And like I said, the show will go a little bit later today, guys. But we really want him to have the opportunity to come on. And like I said, you got to do what you got to do right now.
Yeah, he's a nice.
Well,
He has a nice setup.
yeah, I have a question for the audience while we're in this wait mode and kind of working it out. In the chat, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in a live stream, technically? Because the stories, I'm sure, are far and wide. Everybody, if you've done it long enough, you've got a story.
Yep.
Yeah, Luke's asking if he's disconnected his camera and plugged it back in. That's a really good question. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm gonna try calling him here. That's annoying.
Yeah. Lots of times it's the simplest thing.
There we go. Hey Lee, are you there?
I'm here, guys. Still no video. I can't figure out why Skype is not seeing my camera, but I do see myself over on NeuralNet
Oh my goodness.
Do you
in
want
the
to?
preview window. If you've got that,
Well, you have to go back to the link again.
I did that.
Not,
I see you on NeuralNet.
you see me on NeuralNet?
That's a good.
I do.
How are you seeing me on NeuralNet when I'm not getting you over here?
That's the mystery of live streaming, right?
That's
It says
interesting.
off air. The little green bar under at the top of the bar, it says off air. I don't know what it means, but I've got myself in the preview window.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
You seen return video?
No, I'm seeing Steven from, it looks like your secondary camera shot.
I was going to say, you're probably seeing him from the camera within the NeuralNet system. There's
Right.
a camera that
Yeah,
you can log in.
That's
But then he can move you to studio if there is a connection.
wait a second here. So I'm sending you an invite here to that channel on NeuralNet. It should be in your email.
Okay. How bizarre
Even though
is this?
that is very bizarre because you were disconnected. You disconnected it when you rebooted. So somehow something's holding on to it in the cloud.
How bizarre.
That is really bizarre.
Okay. So I will,
You have to
should I
click
hang up
accept.
from NeuralNet and then click on your new link?
Yes.
Okay. Adios, amigos.
And then click on the new link and let's see, because now that you're seeing the camera in preview, maybe it'll let you bring a camera in that way.
Well, again,
Because his camera's being hung up somewhere.
It's being hijacked.
Something's hijacking it. Another piece of software, maybe even.
this is exciting. This is exciting, isn't it?
We should start recording now. Be like, okay, this is what's going on here.
What happened?
It'll be worth the wait, people. I promise. It'll be worth the wait.
And I'll tell you, for the folks watching, it's usually the stupidest, simplest thing.
Yeah, so
Like,
I'm
when
back
you
up on
reboot.
NeuralNet. I have myself in the preview window, and I am back to where we were. Steve and I see the a side view of you with your looks like
Right.
it's a pretty snazzy controller. Yeah.
Right. So you're getting the NeuralNet, but you're getting that webcam that's built it, but you're not getting, like, it still says it's waiting. Like
How
you're not connecting.
bizarre.
It just says invitation sent. So you have not connected. You have not clicked connect.
Lee, do you see a button for join?
Yeah, do you see anything that says join?
No, I do not. I saw that previously, but when I followed your link, it did the invite link. That was not an option.
And Marty, you usually get the join, right? You just click on join and you join.
Well, in the email, I just click on join and it just opens the page up right to the neural net page with the return and my video, and it keeps the previous settings, so I don't have to really do anything.
Well, guys, I'll just I'm going to reboot and hope that breaks whatever's out in the cloud.
Okay. Well, we'll see if that works.
Eric Coleman, you're absolutely right. It's usually the simplest thing, and you'd be amazed. Like with the reboot, I would not be surprised. He reboots, and Steven's absolutely right when he talks about something else grabbing the camera. That for folks out there doing this stuff, if you use your computer, obviously for many people use it for multiple things. If you're using other conference software, watch out. If something may be loading in the background, it could be just that. And I've had clients do that. And Jeff, I'm sure you've run into that. I ask them, do you have anything else?
Yeah, depending on the system, obviously, sometimes, if you're in one app and you're using a camera or an audio device, it will basically make it exclusive, and then anything else looking for it's like, I can't find it. And that's kind of what I was wondering might be going on, because, I'm on a Mac, and I've even seen that a little bit, which is a little stranger, but it's obviously something along those lines, unless you're like me and you're eating in front of the computer and you get, ketchup and mayonnaise, you got to clear the camera lens. I don't know what would be, keeping it from working, but rebooting obviously is, usually the right answer to let things go back. But if something got wrote to a preferences file, if there's a situation where there's a conflict, especially if it's, the old device manager kind of stuff. Every now and then those things do pop up. It's always interesting they pop up right in a moment when you're doing a live stream. But it's got to be something. I think he's right. Something more obvious than maybe what we're thinking. But,
like worst case scenario, like I said, we'll just go audio only with him, and until he can situate it, and maybe have him come on another time when he gets his video squared away.
I think that's a great idea.
Because if you guys, if it was an issue with the setup and the system, you guys wouldn't have got in. Greg wouldn't have got in last week. So something is going on with his setup that
it's local to him.
Yeah, and we've been working on it for the last half hour.
Yeah.
So.
The thing is,
I don't want to delay everybody.
I wonder about Chrome. What version? And again, I don't know what version would be right or wrong. But when I had that issue, I was really thinking it had to be something with the web, because I had changed nothing else. I did, nothing to the configuration. So I'm thinking, was it an overnight patch that ran, that kind of thing, that maybe changed it and broke it, that kind of thing. But I don't know if he's tried Firefox instead of Chrome, or if it's back and forth, or both, or whatever. But.
Yeah, we're getting some noise from you there, Jeff. It's like.
Did it just start?
Yeah, it sounds like you got more distant from the microphone too. It sounds like you're talking from like way back here.
Yeah, I hear a little bit, a little like crack a little.
Is this a little? Does it sound any different?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I think this is going to be what we're going to call our bug show.
Yeah, right. Well,
we're sitting and talking, and things are changing around us. So I think Ghostbusters need to be called.
So Sergio wants to know in the chat room while we're waiting for Lee when Wirecast Go for Android will be available. Unfortunately, that is not something that's on the developers list at the moment. My best solution that I would tell you to use if you want to use an Android device with Wirecast would be there's a bunch of NDI camera apps that are out there. I know NewTek makes one. There's a few other ones that make it. That would be my suggestion, because Wirecast and everybody's on the NDI bandwagon. So I would download that app and use that if you're on an Android device or tablet. That would be my suggestion for you to get it in. That's what I use for my Android devices as well, to get it into Wirecast and other platforms. Because Android is so sparse, it's hard to develop for that. Any developers, Google, unless you have like a Google phone, you're not going to get the latest update. Samsung might come out with it 5-6 months later. That's my biggest issue. While we're on the subject of that, I was very underwhelmed with Apple, and I'm not going to upgrade to the new phone with that.
I'm on the upgrade program.
I'm
ready to
waiting to
rock.
see. I'm waiting to see what Google's gonna bring because
It's gonna be that would be the only other one I'm interested in seeing that too, Steven, that Pixel 4. That
well,
would be the only other
I
phone I
saw
would be
some.
interested in.
I saw some posts where like they actually leaked it the day before the Apple keynote, and they're changing web pages by just going like this in front of the phone. So that to me is appealing as a feature. It's going to have the same 3-lens camera that the iPhone has. So it's like, okay, Apple, you gave us a 3-lens camera, but you didn't give us anything else. Like that was it. You've given us a faster processor, which is they claim it's like, 30% faster. Okay, great. Well, how about 90% of my apps won't even run that speed because your developers haven't even, any of the app developers haven't even fixed it. Half of my apps aren't even full screen yet from when you went to the big phone. So I've got a bone to pick with Apple when it comes to that stuff.
Well, they're in maintenance mode. I mean, they're not doing anything innovative. They're just
But I'm not
basically
paying. But I'm not.
relying.
But for $1,100, Jeff, I'm not paying $1,100 for a camera on a phone.
Well, here's the other thing to think about, and I think this is where people really miss the mark, is phones are mature. So it's not like in 2007 where every year you'd have a big, and all the manufacturers, you'd have a big spec upgrade because it was new. Now it's much more like PCs. Like PC, you don't upgrade every year just because a new one comes out. I mean, new ones are going to come out every year, but it depends where you are in the upgrade cycle. So and frankly, iPhones. I mean, I'm on that's the one thing I splurge on is my iPhone, and I'm on the upgrade. So I get it. I will tend to get it every year. That's just the one thing I do. That's my thing. But for the average user who's not on that, you could easily get 3 or 4 years out of a device, easily. And on the iPhone, the devices are so good. Like this is a 1-year-old device. It's rock solid. New iOS 13. In fact, I've been running the beta. It's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that are running 6s. I have no problem. Just swap out the back. I mean, they're really good devices. So when you show up in the upgrade cycle, you upgrade. If you don't, you don't. And this idea that people are saying, "Oh, it's not innovative." Well, it just isn't.
Well, they
You're going to have
plateaued.
iterate. Yeah, I mean, well, the technology. I mean, you can't expect a generational upgrade every year. It's just not going to happen. And and you can look across the Android devices. I know they have whiz bang features and all that stuff, but let's be real. How many of those features are you really using on an everyday basis?
Well,
I mean,
no, but that's the thing. That's the exact thing. That's why I switched off of Android back to iOS, because I had to do 10 steps for every 2 steps that I had to do on iOS. So
and I'm not getting on Android at all. I think there are some, depending on what your use case is, and this is what I tell people. It's like, look, it's going to be different for everybody. What I can't stand, I see it all over social media, is like people, like it's like some turf war or some sporting event. Like, oh, like, Android sucks or iOS is bad, or why you're an idiot for getting an iPhone, or why are you on Android? It's all this stuff. It's like, well, if it works for you, that's it. And there's a lot of great technology out there. If it works for you, get it. I mean, for my personal situation, I'm deeply into the Apple ecosystem. I love it. It works for me. May not work for everybody. This is my thing. I have a business. That's my thing. But doesn't mean that. I mean, Pixel is very intriguing to me, especially on the camera side. The Samsung devices are perfectly good, high end, and there's pros and cons to everything. So it depends. I would always say prioritize what's important to you, because technology is always a series of compromises.
That's right.
There's never and Jeff, this, like even in our business, right? It's always a compromise. It's like, what do you want to compromise on? What's the most important thing? And you get that.
We're going to hear well, let me see, unless I can figure out where this is in Skype.
Mark Rogers, welcome on Facebook.
We're going to hear the most annoying sound, which is Skype calling. Because at this point,
is called tap dancing, by the way, in technical terms. This is called filling.
Because he's not on neural net, and we can't delay this anymore. We got to get him on audio, and we're just gonna have to do the show. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So, I mean, he might have Skype closed. Sounds like we're going deep underwater.
I was thinking the same thing.
The submarine's going down.
The hunt for
sonar.
All right. So it doesn't appear that he has it doesn't appear that he is on Skype, or he has it closed, or I don't know what's going on.
He may be
Well.
at the Micro Center
Oh,
buying a new computer.
Mark Rogers said, "Do you need me to fill?" He's a true professional. That Mark Rogers. We might, Mark.
Is he all set up? Just send him the link, right?
Oh, he's got his Heil PR40. He's a pro now.
Oh,
So-
he's making.
Yeah, he
moves.
doesn't have his camera yet set up, but he's got the PR40.
Well, I'm just like I have no way of connecting with Lee here. He called my desk phone, but I'm not going to hear that ring right now because
Oh,
so
boy.
hopefully he's listening to the stream right now. And Lee, if you are, you might have to send me an email or something because I'm checking my email now. That's what I'm doing to see if he emailed, because it shows the invitation was sent to Lee, but I'm still waiting for him to connect. And
I was so looking forward to having him on. He's
yeah.
Me
great.
too.
So this is something I may have to do from now on when we have a guest. I might have to get on with them a day before and do this
Yeah,
because it's I hate to say this like that, and Lee, if you're listening, this is no put down on your part. This isn't a difficult setup. You click a link, you choose your camera, but what's happening with Lee's setup, something is hijacking his camera because he's not even getting his camera showing up that he can select it or his audio.
Exactly.
So something else is going on, but that's how simple this is. It's just like Rendezvous. You click on it, you click your camera, you click your audio, and poof, it just shows up here to the studio. So something's going on, and without doing any kind of further testing with that, well, that's kind of
Yeah, it's hard to do it live on the air.
that's kinda where we're at.
You know, and Stephen raised a good point. I mean, that's why we test it. It's not anything Lee's doing. It seems like he's doing everything that you normally would expect him to do. And you're right. It's probably something hijacking his system in the background or his camera or whatever. He's on the right link. It's not that.
so.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say. So let's just we're gonna do a show. I think we're gonna wait for Lee's gonna keep trying. I don't know if it still says waiting. If he happens to pop in, well, we're gonna go with it. But we're gonna run a show and
And if he comes in with audio, we'll have him
yeah.
with audio, right?
So you guys will get to see firsthand what it's like when you prepare for a show. You're depending on that guest to come in because that's what the topic is. That's what your show card says. That's what you promoted out on social media. Now, how's the test? How can you do a show for a half an hour? You're going to find out here in just a few minutes. So I'm glad you guys stuck around. So we're gonna go to the intro. We're gonna roll with this. And Lee, if you're watching and you get everything squared out and you get it squared away and you jump in, hey, we'll gladly bring you on. Or if you get on Skype, we'll bring you an audio in. But yeah, he needs to be in Discord. I agree, Joe. So, all right, let's see what happens. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of On Social, and I know we're getting started late. We had some technical difficulties with our guest, but that's okay, So what we're going to do is we're going to do the show anyways. The show must go on, and what we're going to try to do is maybe schedule Lee for next week, and we'll get him on, and we'll just kind of push shows back or the following week and get him on so everything can be dialed in. But joining me, as always, my co-hosts and partners in crime. We've got Mr. Marty McPadden from PodJam.tv. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Stephen. How are you? Well, I shouldn't even. I know how you are. So it's,
Oh, you know what?
Crazy today.
Hey, this is how it is, right? You just gotta roll with it. Oh, we got
There
him
we
coming in. Here we go. All right, I think we've got Lee's audio coming in now. So Lee, we'll get to you here in a second. Also joining us, we've got Mr. Jeffrey Fitzgerald from Jeff and High Def TV. Welcome.
Hey, check mic 1, 2, 3. You know, we don't check today, right?
We've got you. So I take it we also had Lee. Lee, you were kind of listening to the program and heard that we were going to get going to try to get this thing going. But you're joining us via audio on Skype, correct?
Okay, guys, you have me here?
We do have you here. Yes. It
Oh
sounded
my
like you tripped
gosh.
over a bucket, but you're here. We've got your audio.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare.
And we're live, so
And we are live right now. So we were doing introductions and everything. So Lee has joined us. He's the one that sent in the community video last week. So Lee, let's start right now. Let's just kind of dive into this. Let's start with why the show even started late, and have you kind of explain to everybody what you're facing right now. And this is something, honestly, that everybody could face at any given moment.
Yeah, so I've been around radio, television, video production for 40 years. So, your message last week about get there early, be prepared. Wow, what a perfect example of why that has to happen. So I have Wirecast. My plan was to come and join you guys via Wirecast.
He's getting no audio. Nothing's coming in.
There you are.
I'm not.
There we go. Okay. So he's got audio now.
Yeah,
crazy. So
crazy.
you've been doing this for a long time. And one of the issues that you're having right now is that nothing is seeing your camera.
Exactly. Skype won't see it. Nothing is seeing the camera.
Nothing is seeing his camera. And it did see, it's all Wirecast virtual camera for like, what, a brief second when you, I guess Firefox updated and you had to reboot. Or you reopened Firefox, right? Was that what happened?
Yes. And what I've done now, guys, is I jumped over onto my laptop and followed the link to your, to NeuralNet. And so I see myself and I see a frozen side shot of you, Stephen.
So something is not playing nice with you, but what we'll do is in a couple weeks we're going to reschedule you to come on with video.
Perfect.
So we can have you, but this is something that we wanted to keep. We wanted the show to go on, right? So we want to do that. So since you have audio only, I know you did have some questions that you wanted to ask, and hopefully people are still sticking around and wanting to kind of find this out, because this is just it. This is something you have to do, right, guys? I mean, this is something you have to do. If you can't get the person on with video, at least get them on with audio, because what do we always say? Audio is the most important thing, right? If you can hear the person, that's what matters. But we kind of wanted Lee to do a little bit of show and tell with his setup, but we'll say that for another time, Lee. So we'll definitely get you on. But you outlined some questions in that email to me. Do you want to kind of go through some of them? Do you have them available that you would put them out? And audience members, feel free to chime in with that as well.
Well, sure. As a broadcast professional, I have my list of questions ready.
There you go.
First and foremost for me is, has anybody figured out a way to monitor audio live on the stream? It drives me crazy. As a broadcaster, I'm so used to having live audio in my ear, so I know what's going on. I see, Marty, you're shaking your head. You appreciate that, Jeff. I know you do it. Is there any way you can do that? Find a solution so that I know exactly what's on the stream?
Are you saying you're looking for program out audio that before it goes out to the internet, or are you talking about before it gets into Wirecast?
I would like to, what I'd love is program out audio through Wirecast. So when I monitor the Wirecast output, it's always a second or two delayed from live. And, that's the mix minus issue that you just can't get around. Anybody have a
Yeah,
solution for that?
Well, it's one of these things where, I mean, obviously it was in Wirecast under the VU meters on the program side. You've got the ability to turn the sound on or off. You can hear it, as it's going out, that kind of thing. But it's one of these situations where I would envision it, if you really wanted something that precise, it would be where maybe the right answer is to have an encoder separate from all the equipment that you're using to send that stream or send that signal out with. That way you're hearing what's coming out as the final on your end, but it's still not before it's being encoded, because it's that encoding process that's actually creating that delay in that stream, crunching all that video down to make it, viewable over the internet. And so that's where that challenge comes from. And so you being a broadcaster, I know me, Marty, I know you know this as well. I know Steve, you've done this. It's really kind of a new world when you don't have that confidence in your ear, like you're hearing yourself as you go out. You're basically a block or two away from that. You're like stopping before you really know it's what you have in the software, but you're trusting that everything sounds that way as it goes out. And that's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, like, I listen to myself. I have my audio piping back into my headset when I'm doing a show, and that's kind of how I make sure everything's blended, with my co-hosts and my guests. But one of the challenges that we ended up having was I could see meters running on my mixing board, but then there's people in the chat room going, "Hey, there's no audio out here. What are we gonna do?" Like, I don't know it. So what I've done is I purchased from American Audio, and I'll see if I can pull up a link to show you guys, a DB display. It's rack mountable, but what I did, instead of rack mounting it, I put it right above my preview program TV monitor that's right next to the camera. So basically I see light meters going back and forth when the audio is going to the internet. If I see meters here in my interface and Wirecast, if I see them going, but they're not going on that, I know the internet's not getting audio. And so that was one way that I've kind of combated that issue, because sometimes, like, you're controlling things, like you said, you've got the X keys or something, you hit the mute button, but you're still getting audio in the interface, but the audience is not getting the audio. What do you do? You're 10 minutes in your program and you have zero audio. So what do you do? So I think I spent like $20 for it, and you can set the dB meter. So I have it set to 0 dB, even though it goes into the red. 0 dB is actually red on this. So what I basically did was just made it so it matched my mixer in that way. So I know everything was set as best as I could, calibrated, if you will.
Yeah, so I get it. So something is going out, but you're not really sure what that is the challenge here until after the delay. If you have somebody monitoring audio for you,
Right,
they can tell you you've got, the video B-roll that you're running, the audio is on when it shouldn't be, that kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, and I can tell you what I do. And normally I'm not doing any solo shows, so if I did a solo show, it might be different. But I'll test everything ahead of time and make sure my signal path is good. And then as far as my audio goes, I do have a meter in Wirecast that I'm looking at here. I can tell, okay, my audio is working. So I rely on that. I don't route my audio through my headset ever. And normally I'm on with other people. So in this particular setup is a little different because I'm a guest on a show. I'm not running the show. So going through the browser, going through neural net. And my concern is making sure am I sending audio through, and then obviously Steven's hearing that, so I have confidence there. And as far as a confidence monitor on the encoded stream, because of the delay, I would think the best thing to do there is have people that you can rely on that may be watching the show that can let you know. And we're very fortunate, the community we have, people are very quick to let us know if we're not. We've had that before, audio is not going through, to let us know. But yeah, it's a tricky situation. I think it's also depending on what you want. I know, Steven, you saying you route your audio through, and for me, I would do it. I just don't. I think I would be thrown off. But again, and it also, depending on the show that you're on. Like for this setup for me is pretty simple because I'm not doing a lot here. Really, to be perfectly frank, Steven's really doing everything. But if I'm running a show lots of times I don't really do a show. I used to do a show, and I used to do it with Mark, and I don't route the audio through, and I just make sure everything works ahead of time. If I'm doing a client show, I'm usually a producer in the background, so I'm monitoring everything. I don't have to worry about my audio going out. I just have to worry about the talk back. So it's a little different situation. So I just described 3 different situations, and each one of them I would set up differently.
And here's that
And
here's that meter. Not to cut you off.
there you go.
There's that meter that I have. That's you can, like I said, you can rack mount it. What I used to do, and I believe it's like $79 on Amazon. Here, I'll pull it up so y'all can see it. $79.99. I bought this back in 2013, so that's how long I've had it. So what I basically did for the longest time, anybody that watched previous shows, I used to have it sitting behind me because that was my confidence monitor, because I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it flashing behind me and I'm going, okay, I've got audio. But Marty, I mean, you're 100% right. We rely on the chat room when we go pre-show to say, hey, Jeff, your audio is not right, or Steven, you're too hot. Turn it, pull it down. That's kind of what we really depend on them for.
Gotcha.
You need that program out audio if you really want confidence, right? Because it's after all that signal has been processed, mixed, and you've got your music and you've got your effects and your B-roll, whatever you might have in there with audio or video. You want to be able to take one last look at it before it goes down the line. But once it gets into that encoding phase, there's going to be a delay with it. And so that's one of those situations where, depending on how important it is to you, I mean, you could probably get enterprise hardware that has an audio jack out, a video jack out, that kind of thing to have confidence. But again, it just depends on what level of comfort you are, trusting that what's coming out of vMix or Wirecast or any of these platforms really is identical to what you think you're hearing in your ears that goes out.
And I would also add to that that especially if you're a one-man show, if you're producing and hosting and trying to do everything yourself, you're gonna have to make some choices on compromises, obviously. And that's where, again, testing, we all know how important testing is ahead of time. And that's where really is critical, because if you can work out your workflow and really test the signal flow and do test broadcasts, and then get everything dialed in. I know Steve and I talk about it all, like getting it dialed in. And then once you get it dialed in, don't touch it. You should
Right.
like on your mixer and your audio, it should stay the same, especially if you're a host. Like the way I have my mic, I have this mic set up exactly the same way. I move it out of the way when I'm not using it, but I have it. I know the distance, I know the angle. I have it set up exactly. I don't touch my settings on my interface. I've tested with Steven, so I got that dialed in. And being a host and having the same setup, you can do that. That's what I would recommend. And then, and then you just got to make choices as far as what you monitor. And in fact, at the highest levels, as you know, working in professional media, you don't do this by yourself. You have a whole team of people, a whole control room, and everyone has one job. And one person's job may be to monitor the outgoing feed, and you have an audio mixer, all that stuff. But as a one-man band, you don't have that. So you make choices, So yeah, it's always tough. And I think Steven brings up a really good solution. A visual representation of your audio is a great. I mean, Steven, the problem that we had is your macro was misbehaving and hitting the button, and then that was a great solution because you need to know, is it going out or not going out? You knew the quality was good. If it was going out, you knew the quality was dialed in, but it was a matter of switch on or switch off, and that was a great solution right there.
Right.
And being a one-man band, that did the trick.
Another question I have, my situation is a little bit unusual in that I am broadcasting live on a radio station and simulcasting out to Facebook. So the radio, I'm using Zoom to bring the radio station audio into my system, and then they are picking up my audio from Zoom and broadcasting that. What I'm noticing is I think Facebook is running some audio compression or doing something, because if you watch any of my the recordings of my episodes on demand, you'll see it's not uncommon for the radio host to come in very strong, and then my audio is very faint and then gradually moves up. It's not like that on the radio, but it's only like that on Facebook. I don't know if there's a fix around that one or not. That's kind of a bizarre one-off kind of a problem, I understand, but don't know. You get any thoughts on that one?
What I'm thinking is I'm wondering if the audio that you're getting out of the radio station is their program out, which means it's got the oral exciter and the effects on it. It's got all of the compression. all of the good FM sounds to it, and that's what you're hearing. But you're hearing your direct audio coming from your location to them, but it's at the point where you're not hearing that process through their system yet, because obviously they're not sending you your audio back to you, or otherwise that would create feedback and an echo. So you may not be hearing it, like you said, the way it's eventually going to sound after it goes through their process and their signal processors. That sounds like what might be going on.
So Lee, you're sending your audio that is going on the air through Zoom?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And
it's been.
Oh, go ahead.
It's been working just fine. I was really sweating that one, but we've done this now since I don't know, springtime, and every week I've not had a single issue where they're unable to hear me, or we've had breakup or any kind of a problem like that.
Wow. I'm just surprised because Zoom is a conference. I mean, I know a lot of people are in love with Zoom for podcasts, but it's got a lot of compression and echo cancellation and all. It's compressed and all that stuff. I'm and if you use the right microphone, right tech, obviously you're a professional and you're getting the most out of it. I'm just surprised that it's good enough for the radio, because there are other solutions out there that'll use different codecs, especially for audio, that you can send audio pretty cleanly over the internet and get almost studio quality sound. So I'm just surprised to hear Zoom, but yeah, I mean, if it works, it works,
Yeah,
well,
they seem to be okay with it.
Yeah, a lot of it is bandwidth too. If you've got decent bandwidth, Skype and Zoom and other apps like that can easily throw a nice. I mean, today you sound pretty good, and so it's the same thing. It just depends if you've got enough bandwidth and you've got a good microphone. And again, it's almost like in some ways when you do the fundamentals right, it gives you a big advantage anywhere, right? So, I'm sure that's helping that along. But I mean, I can see where Zoom could work.
Here's another question, guys. When I try to, so I'm running Zoom on the same PC that I'm running Wirecast on, and I think, Jeff, you and I had talked about NDI and bringing that in through a separate computer, and I've just not successfully achieved that yet. But I'd also like to record these episodes locally, because right now the only recording is out there on Facebook at 720 and, yada, yada. And if I try to record that on my Wirecast machine, I'm, maxing the processor. So I do have an external recorder device, but again, I haven't been able to get a good clean signal out of Wirecast into that one. Are we too deep in the weeds? Is this more than most people are going to care about?
You're fine. Go ahead.
No,
you're good.
Okay. So that,
Well,
I think that's a situation that other guys might face.
Yeah, I'll take a shot at this. Lee, what you need is to look at the a device like the Blackmagic Mini monitor, where you have the ability to send an HDMI out. But the difference between doing that and just a regular HDMI plug on your computer is that this device now gets registered as a device that's a destination. So in Wirecast, you can go to output and you can send your full frame program output to that HDMI port, and now you can plug that into any HDMI monitor and have the ability to record it if you're going through an Atomos or however you want to record it, whether it's SDI or HDMI. That would give you the ability to record it if you didn't want to do it in Wirecast, because it makes perfect sense. Every time you use one of the great features in any of these apps, it does add processing power, and you're going to pay for it in the long run if you're trying to do everything on one machine.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a good idea.
And I second what Jeff was saying there, and I do something similar. I use Wirecast. One of the use cases I have for Wirecast, I use it in live event settings, where if I'm one of the things I do is we work influencer parties, and I do audio visual for these parties, and we provide Instagram feeds, live feeds, signage, and all that stuff. And I use Wirecast to be able to do that, to manage the playlist and be able to play things out, maybe even camera source or whatever. And Wirecast, I can send that HDMI feed out to a whole set of monitors around the venue, and it works fantastic. And then I can still have my control panel, on my main screen, know what Wirecast is doing, control it. And so I would think that, like Jeff was saying, that HDMI feed out, you can input it into a recording situation and get a nice clean feed. I would think a nice clean recording.
So one of the things that I've used over the years for SDI or HDMI has been from a company called Atomos, and they make the Ninja, and this is the latest version. Now I have the Ninja 2, I think. So mine's HDMI SDI, but basically it's a touchscreen interface. A lot of, as you can see, a lot of people that do professional video and photography use it with their DSLRs, but you can actually take a straight SDI signal or an HDMI signal, go into one of these Ninjas. There's a Shogun. They have a Shogun version. And basically, you slide a hard drive into it, and it records right to the hard drive in full ProRes video. So they go from anywhere from $250 all the way to $500, depending on what you want. But there's, like I said, there's different versions here. Like here's the Shinobi SDI. So you can get different ones that. I'm not familiar with their products as of recently because, like I said, I have one of the older Ninjas. Mine's just a hard drive that slides in. So you'll have to look at their website and see which ones are going to do what you can. But it's great because it takes the embedded audio from your SDI or your HDMI feed with the video, and it puts it in there, so you don't have to worry about sync issues, and you can do real-time editing on it. So you can lop off the beginning, lop off the end, and have it right there. And then just throw through like Handbrake or something and compress it down. But that's what I use is like a backup recorder in the studio. I also have a Wirecast machine that does a backup recording on top of my Wirecast encoding machine, so I get a little crazy with it. But this is great. Like when I go out in the field, I have it as a backup recorder to my camcorder, so I can use it in the studio or outside the studio.
I'll probe that. And then one last issue. I have been, I suppose, lazy in that when I'm creating one of my broadcasts, I just kind of grab the last episode and replace graphics and save it with a new name. And so I have found that over time, for some reason, I don't know if it's a memory leak or what's going on, but even with no stream, I'll see a 40 to 50% CPU utilization rate. And Wirecast's answer was to go in and reset preferences. Is there a way to create a template that is not going to have that memory hog kind of issue going forward?
So I guess they're going to lean on me for this one.
Of course.
They're like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to
Well,
let
yeah.
Steve go with this one.
You're the
All
guy
right.
wearing a
sitting there
Telestream shirt.
Yeah. So is there a way to go into an existing file, Wirecast file, and remove the problematic files? Is basically what you're asking, right? To get rid of that high memory usage of whatever is in there, right? Am I understanding that right?
Actually, what I would like to do is create just a template that I can go, that's got all my shots and everything in, and then I just drop in new graphics every week without having that accumulated issue.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense now. So what I usually tell customers, and I usually tell people, anybody using Wirecast or any product for that matter, if you create a session or a template or a WCST file in Wirecast, get it set up exactly the way you want it before you go live. Like get it with all your shots with the graphics. What I tell them to do is make a backup of that file just by copying it and changing the name of that file by one letter or one number. So take, for instance, this show is on social. So when you open up Wirecast, my template would be on social. When I make a copy of it, I'll just right-click on it, copy, paste it, or just duplicate. Then I'll change it to on social 1 with the number 1. Then I'll make another copy of it and call it on social 2. And then I'll take that and put it on a thumb drive. Reason being is sometimes when you add assets to your document, you can corrupt it if they're not compatible or if you didn't know that they weren't compatible. But you got to go live. Like you have 2 minutes till showtime and you can't afford to be down. So by changing the number or putting a number on it, it basically tells Wirecast it's a completely different file, even though it's not a completely different file. It's the same thing that you want. It just thinks it is. So any corruption or memory is gone, basically. So you can pull it in and be right back up and running in a matter of seconds. That's what I would suggest to do. And then also, if you're adding and taking away assets week in and week out, I would say every month make a new duplicate from your original. Like don't alter one of those. Like if you have 1, 2, and 3, which is usually what I do. The third one's usually on a thumb drive. Don't alter that one. Alter the one that's on your desktop, which would be labeled number 1. After a month, it's still going to get, because you've been adding things and taking away. Put a new file in there and start fresh. Even though it's the same template, you're not going to be out time. You're just going to have to every month do that. And honestly, I'm still using the same templates that I've used 4 or 5 years ago by doing this method. And I've not had one where it's like, oh, well, the document's corrupted or anything like that, or you get that sudden spike. So I hope that was easy enough to follow.
I got it. Yeah, you couldn't see me nodding, but I was right along with you.
Lee, I have a question. Are you from week to week, are the graphics growing that you're trying to save within the file, or is it literally one full screen or one logo, one over the shoulder, and then you delete those 3, save it, and the next week you do the same thing, but then remove it at the end, or is it actually a growing document?
No, Jeff, it's usually I delete assets and then install new assets of approximately the same weight, so to speak. So, and they're usually, I've gotten pretty simple. I use video pretty sparingly, and I'm always careful to size it down to 720 because I know that's what my canvas size is going to be. So I'm aware of trying to keep that as lightweight as I can.
That's a great point. That if you're building full HD graphics, but you're streaming in 720, and you scale it down, and Wirecast has got a great set of tools to let you be able to manipulate the image. That does add the processing power, and you're absolutely right about that. So building them in their native format is going to be a big plus no matter what you're doing.
And I would say this to any Wirecast user that's watching this, and I know we always tout that this is not a Wirecast troubleshooting show, but when we invite members of the community on, we want to give them that option to ask different questions about their setup. Lee's foundation of his setup is Wirecast. So if people are wondering in their chat room and they're saying, well, hey, you're using Wirecast, you're saying you're not a Wirecast show. Well, yeah, because these are tips on Wirecast. And one of the things that I would say is also with Wirecast, Lee, and check in, and anybody else watching, make sure that you're checking that you're using GPU acceleration with any of your encodings. If you're doing any kind of recording, if you have an NVENC capable GPU like from NVIDIA, or if you have, let's say, an Intel QuickSync GPU, and you can use that for your recording or your streaming. That is going to take a load of CPU processing power off your system to allow you to do other things besides just stream. If you have a questionable CPU or you've got a questionable computer, but it has a powerful GPU and it falls in one of those categories, you just extended the life of that machine to get better quality out of it. So I would also check into that as well.
Yeah, and in fact, I do have an NVIDIA graphics card that I'm coding all that stuff with. So I agree with you completely. That makes a huge difference when you take that out of the chain, that your processor really breaks a sweat. And one last point I wanted to make, guys, totally off Wirecast and just more to the creative side of streaming. And that is, I think I want to get the message out there to people who haven't been around broadcasting and video production as long as all of us have. Just get started. It's so terrifying to press record or press that green rainbow button to start your stream in Wirecast. But by golly, get out there and do it. The people who are going to be haters, are a high percentage of them are going to be people who are envious or jealous that you've taken the step they have yet to take.
That's very wise.
Yeah, a lot of times, and Lee, you obviously know this. I mean, a lot of times people are more fearful and jealous of your courage than anything else, because today is a great example. In another world, how any one of us would be like, what, this show's not worth doing today. Way too many problems. Let's just forget it. And yeah, there's some things here we've got to work out, but it's still a great conversation, and you're still showing great courage and hitting record or hitting stream and making it happen. And that's something that not everybody can do. And if you can do that, hey, kudos for you. Keep doing it, and they will get better. They'll always get better because you're doing it more.
I think.
Yeah. And
go ahead, Marty. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I like to add also, and Lee, that's great advice to folks. And the other thing is, what's great about that, and what's great about just plowing ahead, is when you're starting out and you have no presence, your first few shows probably, this many people are going to watch, 0, and it's going to take a while to ramp up, but that's a good thing, really, because it gives you a chance to get your feet wet, work out the bugs, and as you grow an audience, you'll get better. And it's it kind of goes hand in hand. And so that kind of hopefully that takes a little bit of the nervousness away. That look, and also encourages you to work hard to build an audience and build a community. But yeah, in the beginning, nobody's watching. Just do your thing. Just get better. Do one thing every day. Watch your stuff back. Improve one step at a time, and before you know it, you look back and time goes by very fast. And if you work hard, you'd be surprised the progress you make over time. Right? And we all know that, but yeah, that's great advice for folks watching.
Because the easiest thing to do, even for today, was just to pack it in and say, you know what, we're gonna reschedule the show, but you know what, the three of us look at it as a challenge. Like, okay, let's say Lee didn't get on, right? We were playing the intro, and I said, all right, guys, I got a little idea. Follow my lead and let's roll. That was the instructions I gave them when we were doing, and they're trusting me that I'm going to bring something up relevant that they can talk about, that I'm not just going to come out of left field. But again, it helps. I think it gives you a better repertoire, I think, with your audience if you're willing to power through some of these things, so that they can see you can stand the widths of time.
Yeah, Steve, you bring up a great point too. Part of that is collaboration. If you can do a show in tandem with somebody else, that takes a lot of the heat off. It lets you share some of that load, and it's a great mutual learning experience for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think with folks out there, when you get going here, and I apologize for the extra noises. I mean, Skype just has a mind of its own. It'll just start giving you a bunch of noises and disconnections and things.
I thought that was your arcade, Steve.
Oh, no, it's not the arcade yet. It's not Friday yet. No. But no, seriously, when your audience will appreciate, they'll see the great shows that you produce, but to be able to go live, even when you had a scheduled show planned, and be able to talk about something that they can gain something from, you just got yourself some credit. And like Marty said in the beginning, nobody knows you anyways, so that's just another feather in your cap where people can be able to, come on. You're a loyal audience, and that's why we said if you're willing to stick around, we'll alter the time. We're gonna go live. We'll give you the half hour that we promised, and you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of sometimes things that happen. So with that said, guys, I really appreciate everybody sticking around, and Jeff, we'll start with you. I mean, I really appreciate it, and you guys can go check out Jeff in highdef.tv. And you just did a big 9/11 tribute. So, folks, if they're following you on Facebook, you can go check that out. Jeff is very into serving the community with, I guess I don't want to call it, you work for the fire company with media, but
no,
you're kind of doing stuff.
One of my brands is what I wear a lot is Fire Media. I do strategic marketing and volunteer recruitment for fire rescue stations across the country. And I'm very passionate about it. I've been in the volunteer world for 20 years, and I am not an operational firefighter. Everybody thinks that you fight fires or you whatever. I've been a president for 2 years. I've helped purchase an ambulance for the community. I've helped with fundraising, do marketing, do media. And all of us in this circle, especially if you're watching and you're doing social media, what a great place to be is to serve in your local fire rescue department to help tell their story to the world, because that's where your next generation of help is going to come from. And so, yeah, I'm really passionate about it, and I had a wonderful opportunity, and it was an honor to lead our 9/11 Remembrance ceremony here in my local town through our fire department.
Oh, you were putting out fires today. We all were putting out fires today, so you're definitely a firefighter in my book.
Whole different fire department.
Also, want to thank Mr. Marty McPadden from podjam.tv. You guys can check him out. Follow him on all the places. Just look up Marty McPadden. Again, thank you for bearing with us and flexing your schedule for this.
Always a pleasure, Stephen. Always great to be with you guys.
I think he looks forward to seeing me sweat sometimes when we get into some of these instances. And last but not least, we do want to thank Lee for bearing with us here and being able to go through the rigorous troubleshooting that we did just to try to get him video. We wanted you to see his pretty face and get on, and you got his illustrious voice. So we'll have to have you back on, Lee, in the future and get you on video so people can see the face with the voice, right?
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, guys, for the opportunity. And even though I have been doing this for a little while and been around video and TV for a while, I learn so much watching you three each week. I really respect what you're doing for our community here.
Well, we have to give the props to Telestream, honestly, because they're the ones that are allowing us to do this. And somebody, you guys said, I work for the company, but it's still something that they believe in what we're doing. They believe in helping the community with this project, and we're very fortunate to be able to do this. So we're glad that it's of service, and we hope everybody else is getting something from it too. So we appreciate that. We really do. So, guys, what an interesting episode. Episode number 17 is going to go down in the books. It could have been worse. We could have been doing this on Friday. I think tomorrow's the 13th of all things. And I think my wife told me it's a full moon. So, I don't know. Next week, we have episode number 18. Bryce Seigel, he is the technical product manager at Telestream, is going to join us and talk about Wirecast 13. Apparently, the coders have been working. There's going to be some really cool new add-ons to Wirecast that are coming, as well as some fixes and things. So we're going to get to geek out with Bryce next week here on social. So make sure you guys show up for that. Maybe the week after that, we can get Lee fine-tuned in and get him back on here and to bring up some other discussions. But guys, get those videos. Send them in. Right, Lee? Tell them. Send the videos in. We want to see it.
I think you all should. I'd love to see what all you guys are doing. Please do.
This is something you heard it from the man. Listen, if you don't want to get on camera, you don't want to come on, that's fine. But send in your videos. We'd love to see your setup. Even if you're not using Wirecast, send it in. We'd love to see it. We want to see how you're changing the world through social media, through live video, and being on social. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks again. Have fun.